Hi everyone, Claire of Despair here. I am so excited because today I'm going to be playing the Stanley Parable. It is one of my favorite games ever. It is one of the games where the narrator is an unreliable narrator and also a significant character in the game. Other games that do this are probably Bastion, Portal, and if you know of any other games that have an unreliable narrator like the Stanley Parable, please let me know because I would love to hear about them. They are my favorite type of game. So for the Stanley Parable, well, let's take a look. I'm going to show you how the narrator behaves with you, and then I'll actually show you a couple different endings because this game is pretty quick to play. So let's get started.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Okay, so...
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was.
So I am going to not be talking when the narrator talks because I enjoy his beautiful voice, but I really enjoy just listening to the narrator in this game, and I really enjoyed looking around the office environment. There's a ton you can do in every room.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
So this is the first major choice in the game, whether or not you choose to obey the narrator or disobey the narrator. For the first playthrough, I'm just going to show you what it's like if you do everything that the narrator says. Walking through the halls, looking at some beautiful... Actually not... Is that pretty standard? That's just pretty standard Windows art, I guess. Now framed and put on the walls of a building.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
I really like that one of the ways of not getting fired was that you need to do amazing work all the time and never ever desire a promotion or a raise of any kind. I like that. I don't know if I've ever looked through this slideshow before. Use slides to show everyone is okay. Everyone is unique, you most of all. Oh, thank you. Alright, I'm gonna move on though because there's plenty I want to show you.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
So instead of going downstairs, I'm going to head up. Essentially, there are more choices, but whenever the narrator tells you to do something and you have a choice, that's basically a different ending that you have an option of getting.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Sewage Lilies by Cloud Money. I really just like that picture reminds me entirely of Inside, which is another game that don't like as much as this game, but I do enjoy. I can't remember what he said. 2...
Stanley just sat around
8,
twiddling
4,
his thumbs.
Shut up.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
And it's creepy and dark, and I don't like it in here, but I do like the kind of unpainted drywall effect that's going on. Just not a fan of all the red. Or the sudden noises. Never a fan. I do like the font in this game, though. Not sure what it is, but I think it looks nice. I want to use it for something.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Walking through deep and creepy...
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door
pipe-filled
that read
hallways is scary.
Mind Control Facility.
So here's another one of the major choices. If you start going down it, it'll give you a heads
Although
up.
this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Don't want that, so gonna head
Of
back.
course, Stanley thought better of it and realized he simply had too much to live for.
Very true. I definitely don't want to die a violent death in the middle of a video game.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Is dying a horrible death a major part of video games? Because it happens a lot, and I think it gives you an opportunity to experience something you wouldn't normally experience otherwise. Death. Repeatedly.
Now the monitors jumped
Anyway.
to life, their true nature revealed.
That's not a real
Each
thing.
bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
So the Stanley Parable was originally a free game, and the story was essentially the same, although the visuals were very different. And I've got to say, I actually am not a fan of the visuals of this room. It's a little too unrealistic to me. Like, who is going to build a room that looks so much like Cerebro with this many monitors just on a circular room? In the original game, it was a flat wall that just had maybe 50 monitors or so, and I don't know, I think that was more believable to me.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Yeah. So, as much as I don't like the design of the previous room, I have to say that this room is much better. In the original game, it just kind of looked like a silo, kind of from GoldenEye, and there was maybe one staircase to play with. And there's an ending that happens in this room, and having more stuff in the room to work with really made the ending better. But, since I'm going ahead and just doing everything that the narrator says, we're not going to see that ending right now.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Yeah. I really don't like it when there are even remotely loud noises in headphones in my ear. It's just... chills ran up my spine.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine! Unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him. For it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
So from what I can recall, this is actually the only ending where you actually get to leave the facility. But even though it's called the freedom ending, one of the things that I think is interesting about this ending is it's also one of the few where as soon as I step out that door, I lose control of Stanley. So because I did everything the narrator said, he's going to take control of me. So everything that happens from here forward is not me controlling Stanley anymore. So for the freedom ending, I just think that's kind of interesting. Right
Stanley
here.
felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Okay, so that is the freedom ending. It's the ending in the game where if you do everything that the narrator says, you get to listen to his entire story. My favorite ending is one where you disobey him for most of the time, but then you kind of meet him halfway. It's actually a pretty dark ending though, so I think instead of showing you...
were gone. What could it mean?
What could it mean?
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
So rather than showing you that ending, which I think is pretty dark, there's another ending that I don't remember exactly what happens, I just remember how to get there.
When Stanley came to
So
a set
I'm going to
of
go
two
ahead and
open
run
doors,
straight to it
he
to give
entered
you
the
an
door on
idea
his
of what
left.
happens when you choose not to obey the narrator. Of course, if you walk through the right door, right then,
Yet
when he
there
tells
was
you to
not
go
a
through the left
single
door, you
person
kind of
here
get an idea
either.
of, well, this
Feeling
is
a
what
wave
happens
of
when you choose to disobey
Stanley
the narrator and
decided
he
to
gets a
go
little
up to his
snarky with
boss's
you.
office. Hoping him coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
So since we've already heard this before, I'm just kind of skipping through it. There is an ending where if you start to walk through these doors, and then, okay.
Stepping...
There we go. So if you start to walk through those doors, but you manage to get out before they close, you cut the narrator off, and you actually have free access to this room now. Can you mess with the computer? No. I believe you can get access to the bathroom, though. Which is money in the morning, money in the evening. Money for breakfast, money crisp. That's amazing. I had forgotten that was on the wall. There's a mirror that doesn't show me anything, some posters, I guess some framed pictures, and while I can go through here, I believe the main part is I can go through here. What? I thought... What? What did I do wrong? I should have been able to go through that door. Oh, I'm creeped out now. What? Uh-oh. Okay, well, clearly that is not what I'm actually supposed to do in this ending, and now I have no idea what's gonna happen, so... let's find out. I hope it's nothing freaky, because I don't know. Can I enter here? You've got nothing to say. I killed the narrator! Well, this is not the kind of game, thankfully, where monsters suddenly jump out and start killing me, so whatever happens, it's just me dealing with the voices in my head that are telling me that I should be terrified right now. I don't know why I'm so freaked out right now. I'm so scared that something's gonna grab me and I'm gonna scream if that happens, and then my neighbors will yell at me and it won't be fun. Why? I really should be able to open this door. Really, truly. I don't understand why I can't. I'm trying to activate everything right now. Maybe if I close myself off in here? Well, this is awkward. Had I known that was going to happen, I would have just shown you my favorite ending. Well, that's all the time I've got for this video, so I'm going to cut it short here. I would absolutely love to do a longer playthrough of Stanley Parable, so if you'd be interested in seeing more of the endings, I would love to show them to you. Just let me know, and have a wonderful day, as I plan to from here on out. I'll see you later. Bye!